Alright, what's up guys? So today I've decided to build a MTB mountain bike kicker ramp. So it's not going to be like a huge jump, but it's going to be something that you could bring around and place like around somewhere. It won't be like have a permanent spot or anything. So let's get right into it. Alright, so for this project, you will need an impact driver / drill, some screws, you will need a jigsaw to cut out the ramp shape, you will need planks of wood. I have 2 1/2-inch planks and 1 1/4-inch plank. And then you will also need some 2x4s, as you see there. We got those. Hopefully 2 should be enough, but if we need more, we got some. And then also you will need a saw to cut the 2x4s. So a miter saw or even just a hand saw like this one will work. So in order to start off, we will need something to measure with, so either a tape measure or something like this, like a straight edge. We'll need 4 screws, a pencil, and then a flexible piece of wood, something like this, you know, skinny. So the first measurement we will take is the height. So we're doing this in inches. This is almost 24 inches. So we know how tall it is. It's like right on the edge of 24. And then we'll go 8 inches out from one of the edges, doesn't matter which. And then we mark that. So you'll have the whole takeoff is from this end here to this spot right here. So we can measure 8 up here at the top and then string those 2 together, make a line. And there's that. So in order to get your kicker set and ready to be traced, you'll need to put 4 screws in the board. So once you have your line 8 inches away from the edge, you want to go up to the top of that and put 2 screws in. 1 screw below the board and 1 screw above the board, or the flexible piece, whatever you're using. PVC pipe, it could be wood, it doesn't really matter. You'll put a screw right here at the very bottom, not all the way at the edge of the wood, of the plank, or the plywood, but very close, because you don't want it to go, you don't want the kicker to start right at the corner, because then it'll have a little bit of a space between the ground and the plywood you put on top. So you want some space between that. I'd say 1 inch or 2 is fine. And then you'll want to put one in the middle, but you don't want it to be easily moved. So you want the curve to be based off of a point somewhere in the middle. So you'll put that in, and then you'll have a nice curve that you'll be able to trace. So now we can just grab a pencil, have one right here, and we can come in, start at the top here, and just go down this piece of wood all the way to that screw, and then a little bit past it. And there you have it. That's how you get the kicker shape. And then once it's pretty stuck in there, once you lift it up and out of there, you have a nicely shaped ramp for you to go off of. Your next step from here is to take your drill, put it in the out mode, and take all your screws that were holding that in place out, because we don't need them anymore. And then we'll be getting ready to cut it out. So I went ahead and traced out the line in red Sharpie so that you guys will be able to see it on camera. It looks pretty thin with the pencil, so now you guys should be able to see it. And I got this hopefully sturdy enough to cut. It's on 2 sawhorses and they're clamped. It'll probably shake a bit, but not too bad. So we got our jigsaw, and let me just move the sawhorses on the cord. All right, let's go ahead and start cutting. Wow, that shakes violently. All right, so we're gonna try to bring it back to this table. I'm just gonna try to hold it while I cut, and hopefully that'll work. All right, so that's working better, but I'm just having trouble finding a good way to hold it without shaking it too much and getting a good cut, because I'm getting kind of off the line. And that really shakes. I'm gonna see if I can get my dad to help me hold this or something, because this is very hard to cut with just one person. Alright, so for some reason the audio didn't record right here, so I was able to get my dad to come help me cut. So he came over and held the wood, and as you can see, it was a lot more stable, still kind of difficult to cut. So if you're going to be building one of these, I suggest you get someone to come help you with the cutting part. But you'll need to have them help 2 separate times, because you'll actually use what you cut out to trace onto another piece of wood. So it won't be in one sitting. But as you can see, really cutting it, not really staying on the line, but it's close enough, because it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's good enough that we can sand out the bumps. Alright, so we got some new sandpaper. It's the old stuff. Hopefully this will really get down on that quick. Alright, so I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's sanded well enough that, you know, there won't be crazy bumps and stuff. I think I got them down to a good enough size where we can do our second one. Alright, so the way we cut the ramp out, there's actually enough spare wood to just cut another section out, and have both takeoffs from the same piece of wood. So I thought it would need 2, but it only needs 1. So we're just going to trace it with a Sharpie. This is where you'll really see how bumpy the ramp is, because sometimes you won't see as well when it's just the wood that you're looking at. But it doesn't look too bad. Alright, so we got both of these sanded down, you know, well enough that they're pretty even. It doesn't matter if they're like completely and 100% together, but as long as they're like very close. Like there's a pretty big dip here, but it's not like crazy enough that we won't be able to use these two. So we will start cutting the 2x4s. We just need to decide how wide we want them to be. So I'd say 2 feet is about that, and that definitely looks wide enough. So I say we go 2 feet for each 2x4, and I'll measure those out with you so we can see what they look like. So luckily I have this level and it's already 2 feet long exactly. So all I have to do is just put it on the board, make sure it's flush with the end, and then there's a line. So we'll just measure one of these and then we'll cut it with the miter saw and then use this as our template. Because if we're off just like a millimeter, it could make the kicker unstable. So we'll just use this as a template, cutting each individual piece. The miter saw all set up on the floor, and we'll just take this 2x4 over and hold it, check that the blade's right on that line, and then just make sure it's like all the way up against the walls of the saw. It's still right on that line, so we can go ahead and cut. And there's our first cut. Really nice and clean. That's why I love this saw so much. Super easy to make cuts. And then we're going to do this with as many as we can. So now it's to the fun part when we get to start assembling the kicker. So we have the screws. I'm using 2-inch screws for this. So, you know, you don't want something crazy that would go through the plywood, the 2x4, and then some. So you'll want something around 2 inches. These are pretty good screws. I wouldn't recommend using nails, but it's something that if you really wanted to, you could. I just think that nails, they come out easier, and screws are usually stronger, so that's what I'm going with today. But nails are usually cheaper, so whichever one you want. So just driving in this first nail, or not nail, this first screw. That's in pretty good. So that side is in. I'll go grab the other piece we cut out, and then we'll do the other side. Alright, so we have the kicker. We got the first section, or the first 2x4 in. So now, let me just scoot this over a bit so you can see the edges. The edges of the 2x4, or not the 2x4, of the plywood for the kicker, actually need to have a 2x4 here. But you can't put it there because then you'll have plywood that won't reach this frame that we built. So we have to bring it back until you can still see it. You can still see the 2x4, but you also won't have any issues with the plywood not being able to get and to connect with the other plywood. And then we'll want to tilt it so it's nice and level with the plywood that we cut. So the frame will be nice and level. And drill that in, and once I do, I'll be back to you. Alright, so once you have this slat in, you'll be able to get ready to put these other ones in. So it's pretty much just make sure it's level, make sure it's flush with the ramp, the shape that you chose, and just keep on building that out. So like put it here, and then here, and then here, but you want it evenly spaced, and you want it close enough that it can support the 1/4-inch plywood, because you know that's pretty skinny and thin, so you'll definitely want to have something there to support it. So I've gone through, made some slats, and I've looked at the kicker, and it looks pretty steep, so I might have made it a bit too steep, but I also think I found a pretty good solution to fix it, but not have to restart. So as you see, I drew this red line right here. We're gonna take the jigsaw and cut there, and then we're gonna do the same cut on the other side, and then we're gonna put the plywood on top, and it'll also help the kicker stay a lot more stable, because if we have this here and then just a complete drop off, with the amount of force that you could be coming out at it with this, and with how steep and tall it is, and there's no slant right here, it could get pretty dangerous. So we're going to cut this part off, so it'll give support on this side, and yeah, so let's cut that off. Alright, so in order to make this cut, we're going to go and flip it like that. This should be strong enough where it doesn't shake too much, and we're going to go from the bottom, that way it'll be a quick and easy cut, and in an easy direction to move. So one last thing before we put the plywood in is I would like to put a skinny piece, a skinny slat, right in here. So it'll give a better transition for the plywood, from the ground to the plywood. So we're going to do that. We'll grab the drill, and then we'll put the plywood on top. So now we're about ready to lay the actual plywood onto the drill. So it will do some cracking, but it's nothing to worry about as long as it doesn't actually break. Right here. So we're going to do just a screw on each side. So we have the whole board all screwed in, and then we're going to take this jigsaw. I don't know if you can see it. Here, we're going to take the jigsaw, and we're going to cut along the top so we have a nice clean lip. Alright, let's go ahead and give it a cut. Alright, that one was pretty good. So now the ring is almost complete. I'd say if we can, this panel we cut off, we put right here, so it's on the back where it's open. Just turn it so you guys can see. It's open. We could put a panel on the back if we wanted to, but I'd say for now, that panel wouldn't fit. So I say for now, the ramp is complete. So let's go out and test it. Alright, so it's the next day, and last night it was raining while I was making the video, and it was too dark and too rainy last night in order to test out the ramp. So it's raining again today, very wet out, so that kind of sucks, but I'll make a whole video of me sending the kicker in different spots. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want, you can go ahead and build yourself one. And yeah.